video is going to be different than the others on this channel. I'm going to do a no-no today and call out Christians here. Christians have done the same thing as their opponents when it comes to redefining a particular word. Case in point is the word legalism. Just like other words that have been redefined by the left, such as abuse, survivor, cult, and predator, Christians have changed the word legalism to mean teaching anything about how to live a Christian life. And they also treat this word as a Catholic priest would facing Satan himself, holding up a cross in front of them to dispel the power the word might have over them. The word legalism wasn't even in the Webster's 1828 dictionary. It didn't appear in Webster's until 1871. Legalism was very straightforward and easily understood, and has the same definition in the Webster's dictionary today. Strict, literal, or excessive conformity to the law or to a religious or moral code. So with this definition, is legalism always bad? For example, if I were to say you shouldn't sleep with your boyfriend, you should not steal, not lie, and should not commit murder, is that a moral code? Is literal conformity to that law or religious moral code a bad thing? Would abiding by this code be strict conformity? Like, if legalism is bad, maybe we shouldn't be too strict or literal about it. Maybe you can sleep with your boyfriend sometimes, steal from your work here and there. We wouldn't want to be too excessive about teaching conformity to a law or moral code, right? I wonder if in 1871 the definition was meant as a bad thing. It seems Christians at that time would have seen the moral code I just described as a good thing. And they absolutely did expect themselves and their fellow Christians to abide by that code. But legalism as a definition in 1871 meant the idea of it being wrong to condemn a boy for stealing bread to keep his family from starving, that kind of thing. But Christians today in practice have changed that meaning. I always thought in the past that legalism was only teaching that by doing certain works, you can earn your salvation aside from your relationship with Christ. That was legalism in my book. When someone used that word, that's what I always thought they meant. And of course, that wouldn't be a good thing. But since I started looking into it, that's not the way a very large portion of the Christian population now views the word. There's a huge movement in the Christian world to condemn legalism, but the definition isn't what I thought it was, and has become very slippery, and herein lies the problem. The same people who condemn legalism would also all agree there are moral codes that should be taught about how you should live and what you should and should not do. So how is legalism different from simply teaching how to live a Christian life? If legalism is strict adherence to a moral code, that is part of living a Christian life. Legalism, according to the dictionary, just means to have clear standards and live by them religiously. Of course, the matter of grace would also have to apply. Generally, using the boy who stole the bread from the store so his family wouldn't starve should not be treated the same as a thief who steals for his own pleasure, certainly. But truly, living by a moral code and teaching to do so is not a bad thing. That's the real true definition of legalism from the dictionary. And Christians have come to a place where the idea that teaching anything about how to live a Christian life is now considered to be legalism and a bad thing. Why is it bad? Don't we have to have some kind of standards to live by in order to be Christians? Doesn't the Bible teach us how to live? And isn't it a good thing to teach that? What I think is happening in the Christian world is the moral standards are breaking down and secularism is slowly creeping in, so that the new way of thinking is that anytime a pastor or church leader suggests that doing something against Scripture is wrong, or makes any kind of suggestion on how to apply scriptural concepts to actual life, like how to dress modestly, how to obey your parents, or how to be a good father and husband, a large portion of the church points to that pastor and condemns him, using the word legalism. This word has become a weapon in the church to keep any real and clear standards from being taught, much like the leftists use the words abuse, cult, and survivor to keep quiet anyone who even questions their stories. If legalism is bad, it has to be defined differently than the way it was defined back in 1871. It would need to be defined as teaching that we can earn our salvation by what we do, rather than through our relationship with Christ and his sacrifice on the cross. It cannot be defined as adherence to a religious law or moral code, because that is part of what it means to live a Christian life. We do have a moral code as Christians, and we do believe it is important to literally live that code. And that's not a bad thing. Some have said that legalism is also believing we can gain God's favor by how we live. Well, yes, of course we can. There are many examples of God being pleased with people by their dedication to him and his anger at those who refuse to obey him. That's in the Bible. That starts right there in Genesis with Cain and Abel. God favored Abel because of his sacrifice and was angered at Cain. The works they did were either pleasing to God or they were not. That didn't mean God would not forgive, or that how a person gave a sacrifice determined their salvation. True. But it did either please God or it didn't by the works they did. Isn't that also what the Bible meant in James 2:17? Faith without works is dead. So is legalism in that way bad? Teaching that if we live a certain way, it pleases God? Is teaching to strive to serve him so we can live out our faith and show our love and dedication to God a bad thing? Obviously, there will be different interpretations of how to live according to Scripture when it comes to specifics. That's obvious. But in my view, that's only a bad thing if the pastor or teacher is teaching that by living a certain way, you can earn your salvation. If Christians want to define legalism as bad, they cannot solely use the dictionary definition. If they do that, we can no longer teach any standards of moral codes. Then we might as well throw the Bible out with the bathwater. Legalism, according to the dictionary, is not necessarily a bad thing, unless it is not coupled with grace. And grace is the key to understanding salvation. I don't really know exactly how to end this video, except to say, I hope Christians who hear this will consider that using the word legalism as a weapon against other Christians is not helping the cause. It is allowing secularism to infiltrate the Christian culture, which is exactly what Satan wants, and is causing leaders to be afraid to speak the truth about how to live a Christian life. Yes, we do need to couple teaching what the scriptures say about how to live a Christian life with grace. But that doesn't mean we can't listen to pastors or teachers that give their thoughts and interpretations on how to specifically live a Christian life. I hope those who hear this will take that into consideration. Next time, does the Duggar family and IBLP teach that everyone should have as many children as possible? Or has that been exaggerated in the media? We'll talk about that next time. Thanks for watching, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe.